Hello and welcome to a live stream where we're focusing on a tinnitus toolkit that you can be proud of, that our audiology team can be proud of, and that can help you manage tinnitus. I'm Dr. Ben Thompson, audiologist, and I'm here with Dr. Michelle Neidleman Kennedy. We're both here to serve, to answer questions, and if you're watching this on the recording, please do check the timestamps below to look at the specific questions that we're answering today. And if you are here live right now, please let us know where you are. We see Lyle first. Welcome, Lyle. We're going to show the chat on the screen. As we do that, Michelle, would you be able to introduce yourself, give us some background of your experience as an audiologist and your interests in our field, please?
Sure. So, my name's Michelle. I have a very long last name because I got my doctorate before getting married and was published and felt like I'm, Dr. Neidleman. So, but feel free to call me Michelle. I'm an audiologist now for going on, let's see, almost 8 years, mostly hospital settings in the tri-state area outside of New York City, and outside of New York City in North Jersey, where I live. I've worked with everyone from the newborns all the way to almost centennials. I've been very fortunate in that respect. I love my patients. Everyone from the tinnitus patients to the dizziness and vestibular patients that I've had, those with hearing loss. I feel like I have a lot of, great background experience from the wonderful hospitals that I've worked at, from my time at NYU in New York City and my time at Hackensack University Medical Center here in North Jersey. So, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's about tinnitus, hearing loss, balance. I feel like I have a good enough background and experience that I'm happy to help. I know that, there's not as much help that you can find sometimes online. And so that's what, Dr. Ben and I are here to help provide a little bit more help for any of your, hearing or tinnitus needs.
Amazing. Thank you for that. Love that. You're a great audiologist and so happy to have you as co-host of this live stream. We already see Scott, Micah, Vinny, Diana, Carlson, and Brett, and others who are here live, coming from all over the country and all over the world. So exciting. My name is Dr. Ben. I specialize in tinnitus. I also run this YouTube channel that you're watching this on. I have spent most of my professional career in the San Francisco Bay Area in Northern California. And with that, we're going to jump straight into it. We're talking about a tinnitus toolkit you can be proud of. When we say toolkit, we're thinking of what can I do? What actions can I take? Where is my control in terms of managing the symptom of tinnitus? So we have some notes prepared. Dr. Michelle and I are going to jump right into it. Let's start with professional counseling, which we feel is one of the most important tools to consider in your toolkit. Dr. Michelle, for our counseling sessions via telehealth that we're providing, what are the fundamental approaches? What is the background that we use, and what happens in a tinnitus counseling session with a professional?
Yeah, so usually the first appointment is a lot of getting to know one another. So we spend a lot of time getting to know who you are as a person, what kind of issues you're having in terms of your tinnitus, how long you've had it, what things you've already tried to help with your tinnitus. And so it's really a getting to know you basis. And then beyond that, we try to work off of the tinnitus retraining therapy model, which is a neurophysiological model of tinnitus. And it really works to try to demystify tinnitus because a lot of the stress and anxiety around tinnitus is that not much is known, or if you do go to a physician or an audiologist, sometimes you're a little bit written off and they're just saying, it is what it is and you just have to learn to live with it. But we help to provide more information about what the theories are behind tinnitus, what causes tinnitus, and then trying to break down what I like to call a reflex arc of what develops in our mind and our brain in response to that tinnitus. So we work on trying to help you understand what's happening so that you can start to kind of break down that reflex arc and get to a more manageable place with your tinnitus. So that's what we, Dr. Ben and myself really try to do when we're working with individuals like yourselves who are seeking a little bit more counseling and more coaching to help get through their tinnitus.
Yeah, and we're both doing this most days of the week, right? This is our specialty. I'm thinking of the benefits I hear from patients who have a professional counselor. And of course, it doesn't have to be us. There's options, there's psychologists, to some degree, psychiatrists, there's family therapists. They can all help with stress, anxiety, insomnia in some cases. If you developed tinnitus and then anxiety after the development of tinnitus, I believe that the audiologist is best qualified to provide a majority, if not all, of that counseling. Some of the benefits that I hear from patients is, the counseling sessions give an individual a roadmap. They give an individual a timeline, creating expectations. As much as we're encouraging people what to do, it's also an important part of tinnitus counseling with whomever you're working with, of what not to do, right? If someone has tinnitus and they're looking for professional counseling help, as important as it is to say, focus on the fundamentals of tinnitus retraining therapy, focus on the fundamentals of the holistic perspective, understand what's happening to take away that mystery and that stress and that anxiety from it. It's also very important to say, uh, don't try to tough it out in silence. Don't go online on the online forums and believe what you see from anecdotal reports of what made someone's tinnitus worse. All of those components come together and they do matter. Dr. Michelle, do you have anything to add in terms of the benefits of the counseling sessions and providing that information?
Yeah, I think that oftentimes there are also good resources online and people, you're able to have all this, the necessary information that you need to be able to improve and, get to a better place with your tinnitus. But just like working out where you can look up all the exercises that you need to do, sometimes I feel like you need an ally, a coach, and that's what I really think of, what we do as well as, being there as counselors through this process as audiologists. I also think of myself mostly like as a coach, because you have a lot of this information is readily available, or you may also know that these are the things that I should be trying to do or doing to help my tinnitus. But sometimes being held accountable and having those, monthly or weekly or biweekly appointments really helps keep you on track to get to a better place.
Excellent. And we're going to jump to our next toolkit item. This is sound therapy. As audiologists, we are the experts in sound therapy, no doubt about that. There's different ways to have sound enrichment. One thing that's become more clear to me over time is that the technology of how sound therapy is being played is less important than the principle of sound enrichment. Because if I have a high quality sound machine in my home office, then I don't necessarily need something right in my ears providing sound therapy. The brain does not have a preference necessarily over, does that pink noise or white noise, is that coming from hearing aids in my ears? Is that coming from a high quality sound machine on the table? Or am I camping next to a river for the weekend where there's constant sound around me? Uh, Getting the technology piece of this right helps, because then you have the sound therapy on autopilot. You don't have to think about it too much. Dr. Michelle, uh, can you quickly go through the main technologies that are used from the most affordable up to, let's say, the most expensive or the premium options?
Yeah, so just like you had just said that there doesn't matter the mode that you're getting the sound to your ears and to your brain. So you can get something as simple as a sound machine, a dedicated sound machine. But I feel like nowadays most people have like a Google Home, an Alexa, an Echo Dot, whatever it might be at home, and you can even oftentimes use that to help with sound therapy and select what you want to listen to. Again, whether it's music, nature sounds, white noise, pink noise, whatever you find pleasant and helps to take away the focus on the tinnitus is what's beneficial. So you may already have these at home and you don't need to go out and buy anything, but you can also get a dedicated sound machine that has different sounds available. And then you can also move up to using your headphones that you have, your phone. There's so many apps that are out there now that have a wide array of sounds, and you can also create your own, sometimes even modify, or simply listen to the music that you like throughout the day with your own headphones or some wireless headphones. Or I really like the bone conduction headphones that you can wear because your ears are out and open. So you're not only listening to some background sound, but you have access to everything in the environment. So you can still hear if someone's coming into the room, wants to have a conversation with you. You could answer the phone, and you still have this sound playing in the background. The most expensive option would be trying to get. Sometimes we know that hearing loss and tinnitus, they exist together, and so hearing aids are probably the most expensive option, but you can kind of kill two birds with one stone, help your hearing loss and perhaps also help your tinnitus, because sometimes individuals who get hearing aids notice a decrease and a decline in their level of tinnitus. So that can help. And then if that alone doesn't help, you can also have this music, noise, whatever you like, streaming through your hearing aids. So you can have them doing that, and you can again choose what you want to listen to. It could be podcasts, could be music on Spotify, whatever it is. But those are probably the something from probably $20 all the way up to a few $1,000s. But there's options for whatever budget you have and like whatever needs you may have.
We have our first question from Thomas, who asks, does sound therapy help habituation of the perception of tinnitus? If you're here live, ask your question. If you're watching the recording, leave a comment below. We'll do our best to feature that. Thomas, to answer your question, sound therapy helps habituation of tinnitus. You said habituation of the perception. That's a good point, because actually the major gains or improvements with habituation are the perception or awareness of the sound, which means how often do you hear it, and how much is it coming into your mind? How often are you thinking about it? So if you can get both of those improved slowly but surely over time, that's a sign that habituation is already taking place. Sound therapy helps in two ways, I say. In the moment, it can help reduce the perception of the sound. That's quite obvious, right? With sound at the same time as tinnitus, you're hearing the tinnitus less. Hopefully, it's bothering you less if you can find the right kind of sound therapy. Sound. Now, the second benefit is subconscious, meaning you're not aware that it's happening, but there's positive neuronal changes to the brain cells around tinnitus that occur slowly but surely with the continued reduction of the perception of the sound. So you have two things going on. Both of those help habituation. I wanted to add to Dr. Michel's point that what we're doing with our group with telehealth is unique, I feel, because we are not selling hearing aids. And oftentimes, audiologists work in a clinical environment where the business revolves around selling hearing aids, and we are independent. So when we tell you hearing aids work, here's something you should try for tinnitus or consider trying, I believe it has a lot. It's highly trustworthy. And Dr. Michelle, how have you seen working with your tinnitus telehealth patients? If you're not the one who's fitting the hearing aid, do you still find that there's a role for you to encourage them to try it, or how often they should be using it?
Yeah, I 100% agree with what you had said about the fact that, you're getting an unbiased opinion from two experienced audiologists when we suggest hearing aids as a possible option to help manage your tinnitus. And I think that like again, it doesn't work for everybody, but it's an option worth trying. Most places you are allowed, most states, you can look up the state laws in where you live or in the country you live in, but most allow a trial period, and you can try the hearing aids out. You can, for a certain amount of time. And if they aren't helping you in terms of either your hearing loss or your tinnitus, you can oftentimes return them. And again, depending on the state laws and obviously the practice that you're going to, they may or may not have a deposit that they'll retain for their time and for the the time that they've worked with you as well as for the products. And so I feel like a lot of times there's nothing really to lose, but perhaps gain if you but a lot to gain if you try hearing aids out as an option for your tinnitus and also your hearing loss.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I agree with you. We have a question from Aaron. Thanks for being here, Aaron. Nice to see you. Aaron asks, which bone conduction headphones are best? I have not personally. I have not tested different manufacturers. The company Aftershocks is a great bone conduction headphone company. That's where I would go with. Their bone conduction headphones, which are wireless, typically range between $70 and 150. Do you have is that the one that you recommend, Michelle?
Yeah, that's the one I would recommend, and you can purchase them directly from Aftershocks, but you can also find them on Amazon, and I think that they have a pretty good return policy, even if you go directly, through Aftershocks, so I think that there's nothing to lose. One thing I will say with, bone conduction, hearing via bone conduction is that I don't think that in theory, there really shouldn't be much of a difference between manufacturer to manufacturer because it's just, transmitting the sound from acoustical energy into mechanical energy, vibrations on your head. And so the sound quality shouldn't be all that different as long as it has a tight enough fit on your head. You should be getting, yeah, I would say equal amount of sound quality from one device versus another.
Yeah, if we're getting very technical on it, what do we know as audiologists? We know that whenever we're passing sound through the skin, there is a roll off or an attenuation or a reduction of some of that sound passing through, particularly the high frequency sound. So, if we're thinking of what is the gold standard of sound therapy near the ears, it's going to be hearing aids or ear level sound generators. When we're thinking of bone conduction headphones, I think they're a great value because they're affordable, but the high pitches above 4,000 hertz, to get very specific, those pitches are not really transferring through the same way to your brain that they do through hearing aids. Dr. Michelle, have you worked with bone conduction hearing aids, and is that what you've seen in the field too?
Yeah, I think with bone conduction devices, like whether it's Cochlear's Baja or Oticon's Ponto, for example, or now Medel has several bone conduction devices. They, depending on how good of hearing you have depends on how great of the sound quality. So I think that that's also something to note that if you have hearing loss, the bone conduction hearing aids can only really work with what you already have or bone conduction headphones. Whereas using something more ear level, you can enhance the volume and amplification so that you can get better sound quality. So I would say if your hearing is more or less normal or you have maybe mild hearing loss, bone conduction headphones are a great option. But anything more than that, you may find yourself having not having the best sound quality or the best volume from the bone conduction headphones. And you may do better off with more traditional headphones, AirPods, whatever it is.
Yeah, great points. Great points. And then one last comment I have is there is benefit of hearing ambient sound. To make it very clear, if you can hear ambient sound throughout your day, it helps you habituate. Blocking your ears, hearing only processed sound, not so helpful. Now, someone may think, well, what about hearing aids? They just stick things in your ears. Isn't that blocking your ears? Good question, because they're not. If you have ever used a hearing aid, or maybe I can show you, I may have some around here, that the tip that goes in the ear canal has holes in it so that sound comes in, sound comes out. And that means even with hearing aids or ear level sound generators, you can hear ambient sound, which helps you habituate. So and that's why bone conduction headphones are a good consideration. I agree for normal people with normal hearing or slight hearing loss. Yeah, great conversation. We're going to open it up for questions now. So please ask your question, Dr. Michelle. I think we're going to have to come back to this and do a part 2 for the tinnitus toolkit
Yeah.
that we can be proud of, because this is this is essentially what we spend all of our time doing anyway, talking about the tinnitus toolkit. So we do have some live questions coming in. Let's give a shout out to everyone who's here live. Thanks for being here. We're putting these on. If you guys are benefiting from this, if you like this, please let us know. Say, yes, I like this, and we'll be sure to keep doing them. Let's see here. We have a question about let's see here. Okay. Okay. So this is expanding on what we talked about. Rahola, nice to see you here again. Rahola asks, I don't have hearing loss, but can I still get some type of hearing aids to help mask the tinnitus? Dr. Michelle, thoughts?
You definitely can, but if you go to an audiologist, since if you don't have hearing loss, there's obviously no need for you to get anything. There's different levels of hearing aid technology. So if you just want it for the fact of being able to stream sounds and have some most hearing aids nowadays also have built-in sound generators or masking noises. If you want to have that capability, then I would definitely recommend trying to ask what's like the lowest level of technology that I can get that has these features. But I think that there are other like over the counter type of ear level sound generators that are available. I think you, Dr. Ben, you might know more of some brands that people could look at that if you don't need any help with your hearing, but you just want to have some ear level sound generators, there are things that are available and that you can get on your own without needing to go directly to an audiologist.
Yeah, yeah. The best options for those with normal hearing looking for something ear level uh, would be either entry level hearing aids programmed for tinnitus or something called ear level sound generators. We work with a company called Soft Touch Labs, and they have a specific model that we find very effective with our patients. It's called the Tranquil 2. It's not available to be purchased directly. If you work through us, we can provide that, or certain tinnitus centers that provide tinnitus services in your local area. That's essentially the best place to go. Both options are over $1,000, and we typically recommend to use sound therapy if you're following tinnitus retraining therapy on both ears, even if only one ear is louder, or even if you just hear it in one ear. Now, to go a little deeper into your question, if you are really considering this, like Dr. Michelle said earlier, you should try them for a month before you make a decision, yes or no. And also, you may have an insurance benefit through your insurance that covers part of hearing aids. So what we like to say is, you may have been told your hearing is in the normal range. Well, there might be technically a slight hearing loss. So having one of us review your audiograms would be a good independent way to start. And then from there, if you have an insurance benefit for hearing aids, which a lot of people do, you could potentially have a discounted rate of how much the hearing aids cost because of your insurance benefit. In that case, going with the local clinic, getting the insurance benefit would probably be the way to go. And if there is no insurance benefit, considering other options, please reach out to us if you wanted to learn more. But great question, and I think it's the right decision for most people to consider hearing aids for sound therapy, at least. Yeah.
And the cheapest option would be use what you already have, your phone, maybe an app, and your headphones in the meantime while you're in the mix, waiting to maybe try out hearing aids.
Yeah. I've been testing AirPods Pro versus regular AirPods, and the AirPods Pro block the ear where the AirPods 3, like the classical AirPods, they leave it a little more open. And I was testing things out, trying things out. Headphones that are not fully blocking your ear, I find better. What do you think, Dr. Michelle?
I agree. I often find that, during our telehealth appointments, I kind of pull out my headphones so that I can still have a little bit more access to everything that's going on in my room. And also, so I don't have what we call the occlusion effect, where you hear your voice is very loud and hollow. It's a little bit easier for me to regulate what my voice sounds like when my ear is not fully blocked, because as I'm speaking, my voice is coming out and circling back to my ear. So it's easier for me to self-monitor what's going on. So I 100% agree. I'd rather not have something completely plugging up my ear.
Great. I'm going to give a little plug here that Dr. Michelle and I are both available for telehealth sessions. So contact us through the description of this video if you're watching on YouTube, or find us through our page on Facebook. We're here, and this is pretty similar to what we do, right? We give individual advice to help people on their journey with tinnitus or different hearing conditions, whether that's hearing loss or hyperacusis. this is what we do. So we're happy to help you guys here in this live stream. I think we have time for just a few more questions. So let's see what we got here. All right. Carlson, nice to see you again. Carlson asks, I would like to know of tinnitus centers near me who might provide sound generators or hearing aids in the Detroit area. Dr. Michelle, how would you approach that if you were helping Carlson?
So I often, and it might be biased because I've only ever really worked at large hospital settings, but I would say your first bet is maybe just check out your local hospital and see if they have an audiology department. I'm also a little bit partial to the hospital environment because most hospitals, they're really just one, you have like multidisciplinary care. So you may have an ENT, your audiologist, maybe your primary care is also a part of that team. So you have that whole access. But then also, for the most part, in the hospital setting, I feel like they're looking out for your best benefit. They're usually not commission based. So if they're recommending something like hearing aids to assist you with your tinnitus, um, there's not very like it's not very likely that they're thinking about you with dollar signs in their eyes. So that's kind of what I always think. And then beyond that, doing a Google search to look and see if there are also wonderful audiology private practices all over. But you'd have to make sure that they are specifically saying that they work with tinnitus and that they have experience providing options and things that help out with tinnitus, because not every audiologist is well versed or experienced or educated in helping those that have tinnitus. So you wouldn't just want to go to any audiologist because they might be more focused on hearing loss versus hearing loss and tinnitus or just tinnitus. But I feel like the best bet is to try to go to whatever hospital system is in the area that you live in.
I like that. It's come across my telehealth sessions as well with patients who are needing help for more unique tinnitus cases, or let's say pulsatile tinnitus or severe hyperacusis, where there's a need for a medical doctor, a physician, to do tests. I'll tell you guys a funny story. So I completed the audiology residency at UCSF in San Francisco and developed professional relationships with my mentors and such. And the audiology specialists at our hospital, we were not even aware that within the same hospital network, there was a pulsatile tinnitus clinic. And it's crazy to think that audiologists within the same large hospital network wouldn't even know that there was a pulsatile tinnitus clinic, which is typically run by cardiovascular specialists, not audiologists, not ENTs. And since then, I realized, okay, there may be pulsatile tinnitus clinics all over the country. And just last week, I had a client who reached out to a major hospital in their area within 100 miles or so, and they said, "Yeah, we can have one of our specialists talk to you about pulsatile tinnitus." So then they had a telehealth session to review some test results and give some professional opinions. So, what's better than that, right? Using telehealth, having expert consult for a very niche, very specific condition. In some sense, that's exactly what we do. But even we recognize when we need another opinion or another department to give their opinion, right? Yeah, good. Well, we're at the end of our half hour, so this live stream was a big success. Thanks to all of you who were here. Dr. Michelle, do you have any last words?
I just want to say thank you so much for everyone joining us, and feel free to reach out if you have questions. I know that Dr. Ben will have the information so that you can, if you have more pending questions or you'd like to meet with one of us, we're here. We're happy to help. I feel like that's half the battle, not knowing who you can turn to when you have these issues with tinnitus. And I feel very fortunate to be able to help, those who I've helped, and looking forward to the ones that I will continue to help in the future.
Thank you so much, Dr. Michelle. I'm Dr. Ben. So glad you're all here, and take care, everyone. Bye-bye.